Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Exponential Potential. And all this week, all this month, we've been exploring the topics of courage and resilience. And I am super thrilled actually to be joined today by Kim Rahir from Coach Flex. She's the founder and CEO of an incredible business, but with an incredible story behind it. So, Kim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you.
So we've been talking for many months now to our listeners around how they can thrive through change. And one of the reasons why we're so excited about the topic of courage and resilience is that we have the power to surprise ourselves. And there's real magic once you push yourself beyond the comfort zone. And your story does combine with that, and you inspire that among the women that you work with at Coach Flex. But actually, your story is also around defying limitations and defying some of those labels that are put on you. So tell us your story.
Yes, absolutely. I think you really hit the nail on the head there. And I think what saved me in my story was that I really fought to get my power back and to not fall into a certain category or get a label stuck to my forehead. So it started when I was 45. I had 3 kids. They were pretty small. I had a full-time job. Felt pretty good about myself. I had been working as a freelancer for a long time as a journalist. And for the first time since I had my kids, I had a full-time job again. And I thought, wow, now I have a good career and 3 kids. I made it. I'm showing everybody that you can have both, as a woman, all these things that my generation, we were still brought up with ideas of, you have to choose between career and kids. And I thought, no, I don't. I don't have to choose. And I'm doing this. And then literally from one day to the next, I was struck down. I started seeing double. Doctors were very concerned. They sent me to the hospital, a battery of tests. They didn't really know what was going on. While I was in hospital, I could feel that my legs were getting paralyzed, like it was like an ascending paralysis that fortunately stopped at the hip. And because my symptoms were so all over the place, they didn't fit with the protocols of the docs. So, the eyes were like one syndrome and legs would have been another syndrome. So they took a long time to decide what they were going to call it. And I spent 6 weeks in hospital. After 3 weeks, I was totally paralyzed from the hip downward. I couldn't wiggle a toe. And that was really scary, super scary, dark times. It's 15 years ago now that happened. And then I got home. I learned to walk again, first with crutches, short trips, then longer, and then I got better. I had to get monthly infusions with immune globulins, I think you call them in English, because they thought they would sort of keep my immune system at bay. But after 2 years, they said, no, it's okay, it's fine. You don't need those anymore. You're stable. And I was so grateful. I called my husband on the phone, said, I don't need the treatment anymore. And he said, that's amazing. We both cried. And I thought, yeah, a second shot at life. And then it lasted for a year. We moved. We lived in Paris at the time. And one day I felt my left hand going numb. And because I knew about these weird sensations that you have when you have neurological problems, anytime you feel something that you shouldn't be feeling, there's trouble. So I got tests again. And then they said this time was completely different. It was not this weird syndrome that I had before, but this was like an episode of MS because my immune system was attacking the white matter in my nerves. And that was a big shock. But still, I was hoping because they have this procedure. You have one episode. It doesn't mean a thing. Could be accidental. Could be just a freak thing. When you have two, second one, then you're declared an MS patient. So of course, I spent an entire year thinking it's not coming back. It's not coming back. It's not coming back. And then it came back. It was very mild, super discreet, and hadn't I been doing a weird yoga pose on my bedroom floor, I wouldn't have noticed. But I felt this weird tingling inside my spine where I knew right away something's off. So then I was declared officially an MS patient, and I was told that I needed treatment for the rest of my life. And that was the first time that I somehow wanted to not accept what was happening. I had been very scared, of course, with the first episode of this, because MS, you have no idea where that leads you. You could end up in a wheelchair, you could end up blind, you could have all sorts of symptoms and developments, and nobody knows. But because my second relapse was so discreet and so mild, I just didn't want to go into this lifelong sentence of getting treatment. I thought this was really giving your power away. Because if you're fine, you don't know. Are you fine because your body is better? Or are you fine because you're getting the treatment? You will never know. And I fought with the doctor for an hour. He got very impatient at the end. He was patient for an hour. He was not used to people talking back to him. And I said, why do I have to do this? And really? And then we'll never know. And he said, that's just what we do. And then at the end, I gave in. I said, okay, I'm going to get that treatment. And I asked him, but can I exercise? Because I had been a gym goer before. I liked exercising. And his answer was, you can exercise, but you must be careful. And I thought, what the heck is that supposed to mean? I thought about that for a long time, and I keep thinking about this because I imagine so many women with health problems talking to their doctors, and the doctors saying, be careful. It's like scaring you, telling you, oh, bad things can happen, but he never said what kind of things would happen. And he never said what he meant when he said careful. He was just saying, like, I interpret that today as him saying, I have no idea what you're talking about. I know exercise is supposedly good, so I'm not going to say no, but I have no idea what exercise really is or does. So I'm not going to say yes wholeheartedly either. I'm just going to sort of wiggle my way out of this question that I don't have an answer to. And it's something I think he should have encouraged me and say, yes, go for it. If you feel like working out, go for it. And I had a conversation with a nurse after that who showed me how to use the injection apparatus and stuff for the treatment. And she said, exercise is great for MS because it makes your body fatigue resistant. And I, wow, here we go. Here we go. That's so much clearer, and that's so much more understanding. And then for me, that was my green light. I went to the gym, and I went to the gym with a new spirit. Before it was like, staying in shape, doing what you have to do for you. This time I wanted to build myself back up. I wanted to become really strong, especially after the experience in the hospital where I couldn't move my legs. Like physical strength is really very closely related to your sense of dignity and pride and being your own boss and confidence. And I knew that I wanted to get really strong, and I started training. Had a great book, one of the first books that said women have to lift heavy, and I followed that book, and I got stronger and stronger, and all my neurological checkups were like rubber stamped. Yeah, you look great, keep going for another year, which was wonderful until we moved to Spain, and there I met a great neurologist who's very up to date. And because I was symptom free and I was strong, and he saw that I was like really in great shape and like better every time I met him. One day when I said, we're going on a camping trip and I don't really want to take my injection gear because it doesn't really sit well with camping, do you think I could stop for 2 weeks this treatment? And he said, you know what, if you want to, you can stop for good. We can try that. We can give that a shot. And I said, what? Yes, please. He said, if you don't want to do it, I'll support you too, because he thought I might be afraid, I think. But I was so confident. The way I felt was so clear to me that I said, yeah, let's stop this thing. And that was 6 years ago. I've been without treatment since, and I haven't had any relapse. Maybe I should knock on wood. I don't know.
Oh,
or go
I
to
am for
or
you.
go to the gym.
But it's remarkable how, you know, at the beginning, the first episode, it's almost day and night, isn't it? You're filled with confidence, you're, you know, living your absolute best life, and then all of a sudden you're hospital bound. And I can't imagine, you know, what was going through your head, or let alone your family's head. So both the experience for you, for your career, for your young children, um, you know, really debilitating.
It was super scary. It was very sad. It's I don't know how to describe this, but because this feeling that I had sort of made it and everything. For me, it was like a dream had been destroyed. My life was not going to be what I thought it was going to be. Um, it was also very reassuring because people helped us. My mom came; she looked after the kids. My husband, who was busy working, was visited me in hospital every single day. So it was a very important insight for me, because when you have small kids, and I'm sure many women who hear me can relate to this, you feel so indispensable. You think you're not replaceable. If you're not there the next day, everything will go wrong. Nobody will look after the children. There will, food is not going to be on the table, and the house is going to be a mess. And I don't know what. Nobody will know when to take them to school. You just imagine all sorts of things that only you understand and can do for your family. And then when you're out of the equation from one day to the next, you realize, no, you're totally replaceable. The world keeps on turning when you're not there. And I actually found that liberating, because I now don't feel drawn into every single detail of my family's life anymore. I let my kids do most things like very autonomously, and it's really liberating and relaxing, because it's better for the kids if you don't look after everything that they want to do, and it's better for you because you can't be in charge of everything. So that was a very important insight that I gained. I mean, at the time, um, I didn't realize that in this way. I was at the time, my feeling, I always describe it as a door that opened inside my soul, and behind the door was just blackness. And it was like blackness was trying to creep into me, and I had to just keep that door shut so it wouldn't sort of get me. Um, that was a very, very hard time. Today, because of what I just described about not taking things too seriously anymore, and not getting worked up about stuff that's really not important, I'm actually grateful for this experience. It wasn't fun. I think that I think my kids dealt with it very well. I think it was a bit traumatic for my husband, but me, I'm grateful for this, because I'm
Mm.
happy now. Every step that I take outside, I know it's not granted every day. It can be taken away from you. So I'm just enjoying it every single step.
But your story doesn't stop with the camping journey and letting go of the drugs, does it?
No, I mean, we moved to Spain. I joined a gym. I made new friends and started. That's also something very interesting, something I would never have done before in my 40s. We signed up for like obstacle mud races and stuff with my gym friends. I didn't tell anyone that I had MS. No one. Like some people you meet and they will share right away that they have, a certain condition or something, because that's how they feel best, or that's how they think the relationship's going to be honest or whatever. I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone. I just wanted to be like a normal person, living my life. And in that gym, I worked with a personal trainer at some point, and he asked me if I wanted to try Olympic weightlifting just for fun. And I said, yeah, why not? what I remembered of Olympic weightlifting was watching it with my dad when I was a kid. We would look, watch the Olympic Games on TV, and the weightlifting, those were always like fat guys in weird costumes, right? And then they even had these leotards where the naked belly sort of hung out, and it was so weird. But I remember that, like, the techniques, even at the time, I found that quite impressive, how they lift the bar overhead and say, yeah, come on, let's try. And then I realized that it was really quite difficult, but I was hooked because it's this mix of strength and technique. And it's not just brute strength, but you have to actually make sure that the bar travels in the most effective way to, not to overcome gravity, to not be pulled to the floor without you controlling it or getting it over your head. And I did that in a commercial gym for a year with that personal trainer, which is crazy because in Olympic weightlifting, you lift the bar overhead and then you have to drop it. Otherwise, it's got to be very exhausting. But you can't drop weights in a commercial gym. So for a year, I trained, lifted overhead, and then sort of put the bar down, which was quite exhausting. And then I found myself a real weightlifting gym, and they became my second family. It's just an amazing place. It's like a club. There are no mirrors. Is no music. It's very raw. But and that's the difference with the commercial gym. There's actually a coach, a trainer there every day, and he looks at what you're doing. He gives you a training program, and then he checks what you're doing. So it's it's not fancy, but it's very sort of close. And I mean, I'm 60 now. When I started, I was 55. I have one colleague, she's a year older than me. You're there, you're an old lady, you train, but in a way you matter because they're, people, you have colleagues who look what you're doing and they cheer you on when you struggle. You have a trainer who looks what you're doing and he explains what you have to do. And that's something I think it's hard to overestimate what that means, because so many women I talk to tell me they feel invisible and like they don't matter anymore. And in a club like this, and when you compete, you're not invisible because the light is on, they call your name, and you step on that platform. There's nobody else. It's just you, and all eyes are on you. You're very visible. So that's scary, but it's also very exhilarating, and it adds a lot of spice to life.
But also in terms of, the trainer at the commercial gym really seeing you and seeing your potential, the doctor who kind of saw you and saw your spirit, saw your endeavors and your desire to move forward. I think at the beginning of your story, there's almost so much around how you give away permission and power and control to other people, particularly with a medical diagnosis. It's this identity, and other people tell you what you can and cannot do. But what's so liberating in your story is, actually, this is a joint arrangement, and I choose what I want to do. I don't quite ask for permission, but I ask for help and support and direction from other people, from other experts, and we go down this route together. It's very different, very nuanced.
And I love the way you're describing it. And in the moment, I never really reflected on these things. I can tell now that I did have a drive to take my power back. And I think the fact that I met these people who helped me and who guided me, it's like a two-way thing. You have to be out there too, and ready to be guided. And what happens with many people when they get a diagnosis, they put themselves into this box, and then they think that the doctor will decide what they have to do, what they can't do, and I don't know if they trust them or if they are afraid, I had to give in and take the treatment for quite a few years, but I didn't go down without a fight, and I had this thing in me where I wanted my power back. And I think when you show the world that you want to do things, and you want to be empowered, then you will meet the right people, or people who are there and ready to help you and understand you. They will get your signal, and then they will come forward and say, okay, I see you, I feel you, and I'm going to help you make it happen, which is another great gift for me. Everything is, I'm just very, very grateful these days for all these things that I get to do. And I really want to spread that message that if you decide that you want to do things, and that you do not want to just accept any label that somebody sticks on you, if you still want to discover new things and do stuff that maybe, I mean, our grandmothers in their 50s or 60s wouldn't have done that, or most of them wouldn't have done that, doesn't mean that we can't.
And even now, when you describe yourself at the gym as an old lady, it's just like, that's not who I see in this interview. And yet we walk around with so many labels, or this haggard, tired mum, or I'm overlooked in the workplace because the man kind of swaggers, and we carry around the labels when perhaps other people don't see that. And when you realize that, you kind of realize, well, hang on, if I'm the only one who's holding this label, what happens if I let it go? What happens if I decide not to be that person?
Yeah, that can be scary. And I think that's part of the story, why sometimes we want to stick to a label, or stay inside that box, because we don't know what's out there. What happens when we move forward, when we do something different? And I think that this activity, this movement, it has to start with you. You have to take that chance. If you lock yourself into that box, nobody's going to come like this and say, I'm going to help you out of there, because you're not showing any intent of getting out of there or breaking free. So it starts with you, but you don't have to do it alone. You will find people on the way.
And then roll forward again in terms of being involved in Olympic weightlifting, which has to be one of the hardest sports, one of the most physical sports there. And you've taken that further again, in that you invite other women into this world. You invite other women, you support other women to find their truth and to take on these goals. Tell us more.
That's something that I realized over the years, as I've found that my health had improved so much with just physical strength and working on that regularly. And my entire health, it's not just about strong bones and all the things that we know. It's mental health too, because when you are physically strong and you work out and you know that you can overcome resistance, that's a very, very important experience to have, because I'm convinced that our brain doesn't know the difference between overcoming a resistance in the gym and overcoming a resistance in other parts of your life. So you will be more confident and have more belief that you can overcome resistance. So I wanted to spread this message to women and just tell them, come on, all you need to do is get physically stronger, and so many of your problems will become easier or will even go away. And I know it sounds incredibly simplistic, but it's what I experienced. And over the last years, science has sort of caught up with that, what I had sort of anecdotally lived through. We know now that strength and muscle mass are a predictor of longevity and of health, and not only muscular or skeletal health, metabolic health, mental health. It's all connected. And the idea, and this is also what makes me so passionate about, and encouraging women to start this, of a one-stop shop. I mean, that makes everything so simple. And you can even streamline your eating, your resting, your recovery. You can streamline everything. If I just do what's good for my muscle mass, then I know what to do every single moment of the day. No confusing stuff. One person says low carb, the next one says low fat, and you have to listen. No, it's very simple. That's what I love about it. But then you have to overcome a lot of cultural stereotypes and resistance, because we're not, as girls, we're not brought up with this physical strength seen as a virtue or a value.
No.
We're told to be sweet and elegant and tiny and, I don't know, maybe smart. If we have nice parents, they want us to be smart too. But do they tell you to be strong and to be muscular? No.
And there's so many women that go into the gym and they're worried to do weights because they're worried that they'll get big biceps and they'll be masculine and start sprouting mustaches. I don't know, but kind of it shifts your hormonal balance, and we've got these misperceptions of strength and what it can do. And before the recording, I shared some of my story. So when I was in my late 20s, I was quite was really timid. I was just coming out of a relationship that had been emotionally abusive for some time, and there's a lot of darkness in that. But we relocated to a different part of the country, and I'd started gig rowing. So these are big Cornish boats, and you go out in the waves, and it's incredible. And you go to the beach every weekend. So who doesn't love that? But we'd all gotten together. We weren't very competitive, but we loved what we did. And we went to the gym, and the trainer there showed us around and introduced us to the indoor rowing machines. And I gave it a go and then did it a bit more. And she said, "You know what, Claire, you're quite good. You should compete." And I did one competition and I won that. And then I did another competition. It's like North of England, and won that, and did another one and just kept winning. And then developed the program. And this has taken me to Paris for the European and to Boston for the world. But it's just these little interventions when people go, "Yeah, there's this little secret thing that you can do. Give it a try.
Yes.
Give it a try."
Yes.
And I did a raffle ticket to raise raffle prizes to raise money to go to the States because I couldn't afford to go to the States. I found somebody who was ready to give me a Olympic level training schedule that I could use, and as you say, kind of everything opens up. So I can definitely relate to this sense of just see, and the magic will flow. And also still, go, well, of course, when you win a competition, that's fine. You know that you can do it. And that's not true, because every training session you have to overcome. You push your comfort level further and further, and I'm sure that that's an experience that you've had with sport in terms of how it opens you up.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to learn to live with mistakes and failure also, because if you don't go out there, you don't put yourself out there, you might never fail or never make a mistake. And I think that's missing out too, because you grow when you fail, when you don't make a lift or something. And you think about it. What happened? What did I do? And you learn to move on. And I think this is just a fantastic skill. To something goes wrong, you analyze it briefly, and then you move on, because you have no time and no energy to dwell on that. And again, I think it really carries over into other parts of our lives, that you can fail, things will go wrong. It's also something that I always tell my clients at the beginning of the week when we check in, and and we make a plan. What are we going to do this week? And then it's like, yeah, I'm going to do 4 workouts and I'm going to eat very no. And then I always, at the end of the session, I always remind them, remember, shit will happen this week. It will. You have to be ready for that, because it's great to have a wonderful plan that looks very good on paper, and imagine that your life is going to be like super smooth every single day. It's not. And I think that's a big problem with so many diets and things that women try. They are not battle proof. They don't work with our and so many women tell me this. Oh, I had this great thing. I had a personal trainer, worked out 3 days a week, ate well, was in super shape. And then they moved away and it all fell apart. What? Just this one thing went wrong and you stopped. Maybe it hadn't become a habit. Or you have a super stressful day at work. So you decide, okay, tonight I deserve to eat unhealthy food and drink a bottle of wine because I had a bad day. So what we want to do is be ready. We just know it can go wrong. When I go out on the platform and try to make the lift, I never know 100% that I'm going to make it. And I'm ready for that. If I don't make it, it's fine. I mean, I get 3 attempts in every lift. And the same thing, you cannot be complacent and think, oh yeah, I'm just going to eat, it's easy, just broccoli and chicken for the rest of the week. And then I'm going to work out 5 times. I can do that. You have to plan for the worst, plan for the worst, and then you're going to be fine.
And what I love in many aspects of what you've said there is just within sport, competitive sport as well. It's people show respect. So you're often afraid that you'll look a fool or you look failed, but actually there's so much respect that you've shown up, that you've tried, and that is way more important than the medals. The fact that you're there gains admiration and gains support, and kind of those concepts can transfer to any tribe that you're in, that lifts each other up. Sorry. Yes. See what I did there?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Pun intended. Yeah. No, that's the thing. And especially at my age, showing up is the win. And when I go to international competitions, there are guys that are in their late 80s and they still show up. And they have to travel, they have to live in a hotel, they have to make the weight, they have to eat properly, they have to train. And they walk onto the platform and they lift. And they're very stiff, some of them, and struggle to walk towards the bar. When they're at the bar, then they know what to do. Everybody loves them because they keep showing up. And I think that's also this feeling where that you call it a tribe. That's it. And that's what we humans need. We want to belong. And you have to give, you have to show up. You can't belong to a tribe if you don't show up. But when you show up, you get respect. And I think for women our age, that is really very, very important.
For sure. So when women work with you, you start talking about strength training and the benefits of building muscle, and kind of how you need to eat. What transformations do you see in them?
It's really quite inspiring because most of my clients honestly come to me because they want to lose weight. And I think that strength training is a great way of doing so, which it is. And then depending on where they are at, we can start with very gentle, just muscular activation. Because if you haven't done anything for years, you need to be very conservative and start gently. And even these gentle activations, what happens like after 2 weeks is they come back and say, oh my God, I have so much energy. Oh my God, I feel so different in my body. I can feel my muscles. that's a great feeling. I feel so much stronger. And over time, they will say, yeah, I came for the weight loss, but the strength is so much more important. It's absolutely fantastic. So yes, they drop weight, they look great in their progress photos, but it's nearly, I mean, yes, because they are strong, they have this inner transformation where they all of a sudden feel confident, stand taller, and are able to face their daily lives with so much more energy and enthusiasm, just because they feel good and strong in their body, which is, you know, it makes me light up, because I love that effect.
It's the mental strength as well as the physical strength that you're describing, the fortitude, the I can do this. Yeah, I
Yes,
can. Yeah,
I can.
yeah. So, is it ever too late to start?
It isn't, no. And there have been studies like decades ago where they went into old people's homes and started strength training programs. You can get stronger and build muscle when you're in your 90s. The body's mechanisms don't change. So you might need a little bit more recovery between sessions, but anyway, and then you're not going to do anything crazy. Basically, you want to make sure that you start at your sort of skill and experience level, and that you also take into account any limitations. If you have high mileage knees, you want to take that into account. You don't want to, go jumping around or doing, this is something that many women do. They go for high intensity interval training because it's called a fat burner. But it's not something that you do to get in shape. It's something that you can do when you are in shape. So you need to start gently, start moving, start mobilizing, and then you work around limitations. And this is crucial, because I hear very often, oh, I can't do strength training. I have bad knees. Oh, I can't do strength training. I had a frozen shoulder. You can always still train. You just have to work around it. You have to work around your limitations, and you will feel results that feel better. This is just what I shared. The energy surge happens very quickly, which is good, because then you get momentum and you keep going, but it's never too late.
So I wonder if you could give a message to your past self, and this would be a message that many listeners will relate to, who feel stuck for whatever reason, and not in the same way as you necessarily, but feel stuck and feel that encroaching darkness or limitation, or feel quite confined in terms of who they are and where they are. But if you could go back to you at that point, what advice would you give to yourself and people listening today?
I think I would say, don't look ahead. Don't look ahead, because you don't know what's coming. Don't worry about, not even tomorrow. Don't worry about next month, next year. It's, useless, because you're struggling with a situation that doesn't exist. Focus on today and do something that you can do today, no matter how small. And when you do something today, you will feel good about that, and then you will gain strength and confidence from that. The big picture, I know it's supposed to be like really important to have the big picture, but in that situation, when you feel that you're stuck and that you're in a bad place, and you feel it's maybe too late, or too late for you, or you can't do this, really forget the big picture and looks right in front of you right now. What can you do? And it can be, have a glass of water, knowing that your body will cherish that. Go for a walk if you can. Be grateful that you can walk. Go for a walk. Something that you can do today without worrying about, will you be able to repeat that tomorrow, and how are you going to feel next week? That's what you can do today. that will give you positive reinforcement, and it will make you actually seize the day, which is, you know, all that we can do.
Have you seen the latest Wonder Woman films? I don't know if you're into Wonder Woman. I am
No,
very much
I
into
haven't.
Wonder Woman. What I love
Okay.
about what I love about the new incarnation of Wonder Woman is there's a female director, Jackie Schneider, and she really looks at Wonder Woman's story, Diana's story as she grows up among all of these incredible Amazonian warrior women. And you know, they're all a very, very strong tribe and really strong women physically and in terms of combat. But what's captured really well in the film and what you've personified is the gentleness. So you see the warrior woman, but actually at its heart is a softness, is a kindness, is a acceptance, but also gentle encouragement to relish the now and keep going. It's a beautiful quality. So a really beautiful quality, and you absolutely have to watch film.
Okay,
I can see you.
I will do that. Yes, that's
And that,
amazing. I think this is also, and maybe it's got something to do. I mean, maybe that's why I also used to be a journalist before. Everything is easier if you have an openness. You know what you also describe as gentleness. We're not rigid, not closed, not locked in or locked up. If you stay open to new experiences, new people, new emotions, new sensations, that gives you a flexibility, you know, that will help you not break when times get tough, and it will enrich your life because you will have just experienced so much more. And it can be scary because you might experience some unpleasant things or painful things too that you wouldn't have experienced if you hadn't opened up. But I always prefer like the richer, the more colorful picture to be my life than, you know, a black and white thing that's totally predictable.
so how can our listeners find out more about you and about your work?
So the easiest way is to look me up on Facebook with my name, Kim Rahir, where I share my weightlifting endeavors, a lot of tips and thoughts that I have, and a bit of fun sometimes too. And then on my website at kimrahir.com, they can actually take an assessment that I put there to find out where are you at right now in your health journey. And it's a holistic questionnaire, so it's not just about can you do 5 push-ups. You can get a very good picture of your physical and overall fitness and your overall health by answering just a few questions, and then you get to a good place from where you can decide, do I need to change things? Do I want to change things? What could I do next? So that's a free health assessment on my website, kimrahir.com.
And in terms of your programs, can people join those remotely?
Absolutely. I work exclusively online because actually the support and the connection is tighter, is better. A personal trainer you see once a week, twice a week, I don't know, for 2-3 hours when when you can afford it, and that's it. The rest of the week you're alone. When you work with me, you have access to me 24/7. I do sleep, but you can always shoot a message, and you'll get a quick answer. And actually, that's especially now with technology and everybody knows how to use it. That makes it so much easier to stay connected to the process, which is, I think, the recipe for success.
So we'll have all of those details within the show notes. So I really do encourage everyone to listen in. And Kim, it's just been a gorgeous conversation. I'm going to find out when the next Wonder Woman is cast, and then just subtly submit you so that you can be one of the Amazon women. You're a natural fit, both in personality and in physique. It's just been such a, I don't know, gorgeous, yummy. It's been a, I found this a really enlightening conversation with so much warmth and positivity and encouragement, and I can imagine how many people who work alongside you feel that as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Claire. Those are really kind words you're saying, and it's also thanks to you and your way of opening and feeling into what you're hearing and reacting. And it's been really a big pleasure and joy to talk to you.
So to all of our listeners here, wherever you go, whether it be a big step, whether it be a small step, just have the courage that you can take that step. Just be kind to yourself and see what you can do, because you can achieve some absolutely incredible things. And we as a tribe, Jen and I and all of our wonderful guests, are here in your corner. If ever you need us, we're always here. But for now, bye-bye. Bye.